Good evening to everyone. I'd like to thank you so very much for joining us for the June 22nd, 2020 business meeting of the Harrisburg School District. I hope you all had a spectacular day, and thank you for joining us this evening. Before we actually begin, I'd like to mention that the school board of directors and members of the executive team were involved in an executive session this evening to discuss Act 44 along with other personnel items. So I just wanted to make sure that was noted on the record. And without further ado, Ms. Anderson, would you engage in roll call?
Mr. Pittman?
Present.
Ms. Fowler? Mr. Williams?
Present.
Mr. Thompson Leader?
Present.
Ms. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Buckwalk?
Here.
Ms. Carreras? Mr. Carter?
Present.
Dr. Samuels?
Present.
Mr. Selmer?
Present.
And Ms. Anderson? Present.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, we would be remiss if we did not indicate and express the concern and how troubled we are by the events that are occurring throughout our nation. And it's very important that we express our thoughts as members of the Harrisburg School District and supporting children and families in this community. Equity and fairness and justice are a basic human right. We condemn systemic racism and bias that has existed in this country for far too long. We cannot turn a blind eye to the egregious murder of Mr. George Floyd and the endemic violence and horrific events that have occurred in numerous places across this country, including New York, Georgia, and Kentucky, perpetrated against Blacks and people of color. Systemic and deep-rooted racism in this country affects each and every one of us.
Double standards and divisive practices that have been used to separate and suppress Blacks and the historically underserved must be eradicated. The injustice and inequities that plague our communities and nations must be called out and addressed and cannot be ignored. Our students deserve a brighter and better future. We must work together to ensure that all students are shielded from senseless acts of violence as we build bridges to address anger and trauma at all levels. As members of the Harrisburg School District, we must fight racism and inequities and ensure that social justice, equity, and respect are the norm, not the exception, as implicit bias, racism, and inequity are unacceptable and will not be tolerated. There is no room for inequity, hate, racism, and bias.
Together, we are committed to taking major strides to ensure equity, respect, and fairness for all. Intentional emphasis will be placed on educating district staff and students as we come together to eradicate inequity, hate, racism, and implicit bias.
We ask each of you to help us with this important work that must be done on behalf of our students and for all.
The time is now.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And we hope that you take the messaging that we shared to heart. Thank you very much. And on that note, I'd like to ask that everyone places their video on pause as we prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance. That will be immediately followed by a statement that Mr. Selmer will make in reference to the moment of silence. So if you would also please remain standing for that as well. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. If you could please bow your head for a moment of silence in memory of Tyrone Gibson, a beloved 8th grade student at Roland Academy, passed away on Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Tyrone enjoyed the art of writing poetry, football, basketball, and spending time with his family, and specifically his mom. Mrs. Lisa Berhanen passed away on Thursday, June 11th, 2020, while in service. She was a graduate of Harrisburg High School and a dedicated employee of our district. She served as an assistant chaplain at UPMC Pinnacle Hospitals and Dauphin County Prison, an advocate for crime victims and families, and first responder with the Harrisburg Bureau of Police. Please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. As we continue our meeting this evening, I'd like to approve the agenda for June 22nd, 2020. I further would like to approve the minutes from the virtual board meeting that occurred on May 18th. And I'd like to indicate that the minutes for that meeting may be found in our board docs. They are attached. Mrs. Anderson, is there public comment this evening?
I have a public comment. I will now read the joint statement on systemic racism by the Harrisburg Education Association Executive and Ethnic Minority Committees, submitted by Ms. Jody Barksdale, 4512 Crooked Hill Road, Harrisburg, PA 17110. Harrisburg Education Association understands the continuing legacy of systemic racism in our country, our state, and our communities. The generational trauma inflicted by this continues to oppress people of color and is harmful to our students. We stand in solidarity with our members of color and the Black community as a whole in the fight for equality and justice. HEA has always worked for equality and equity for all marginalized people in our society and will continue to do so. We represent and advocate for an ideal society in which all are truly created equal and are equally entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Dismantling these oppressive systems has long been a goal of our work, bringing light to their historical roots and how they live in our society. But knowledge is not enough. We are stunned, heartbroken, and disturbed by the string of tragic deaths, including those of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Dominique Bells, Rayshard Brooks, and countless others. We can no longer wait for the day when systemic and institutionalized racism will finally end. Working patiently toward that goal, we must act on that information urgently without any more patience. We must examine our own conscience in light of that information and recognize our role in this system, whether it is explicit or implicit bias or privilege we neither ask for nor seek. We must make space and audience for the voices to be heard. We must speak up loudly now and demand that the dismantling of such policies and practices begin immediately. We must speak up loudly when we see injustice in our community, whether in the national spotlight or in the course of our daily lives. We are compelled to do this as educators and as advocates for the good of our students and the betterment of our society. We must do this work to fulfill that duty so we can model for others what alliance looks like. When hate is loud, love cannot be silent. Harrisburg Education Association and its members pledge to do that work in our association, our classrooms, our communities, our homes, and our own minds. We condemn the killings of Black lives at the hands of police and citizens. We condemn the system and social constructs that give privilege to some at the expense of others. We pledge to devote all possible resources to the systemic dismantling of systemic racism moving into the future. On behalf of our students and our society, we stand in solidarity in the unequivocal assertion that Black Lives Matter. Harrisburg Education Association Executive and Ethnic Minority Committees.
You're on mute.
Thank you for sharing. Mr. Summer, I'd like to turn the meeting over to you for presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
We have a presentation tonight from Dr. Jackie Castleman and Dr. Sue Sneath on our summer enrichment opportunities we're going to be providing for our students in the Harrisburg School District. Dr. Castleman and Dr. Sneath.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels and Mr. Selmer and Board of Directors and everyone else here tonight. Wanted to take this opportunity to share with you some of the exciting plans that we have for our students here at Harrisburg School District this summer. It's all going to take place starting in July, and I know July starts next week. But the planning that's been put into it has definitely yielded some great results. As you can see on the screen here, we have it broken down. Grades K through 2 will be receiving packets in the mail, every single student, and there will be a calendar of activities for every single day of the month of July, except for the weekends. Makes it nice because then parents can decide at what pace, at what time they want to do those activities. The activities are focused mostly around math and reading, language, spelling, a little bit of writing, and there's some physical activities involved as well. We took some of the prerequisite skills that we really wanted to make sure were strong for our kids and focused on them as part of the packet. So I'm excited to hear the outcome once the kids do get those packets. As an incentive, each child in August that completes their packet and has a signed calendar, we have different days at different elementary schools where we will be rewarding them with ice cream sandwiches. So we get to see the results of that as well. Grades 3 and 4, we're very excited. They will be working through a 3-week period, 9 to 12. You can see the dates there listed. And this is really an extension from our extended day learning program, where the students were working on a variety of math, reading, and social and emotional learning type skills. This will be through synchronous and asynchronous learning, and they will be rotating through the various subject areas with the teachers guiding them. There will be a book that they're reading and time for a literature circle. So we have things that we need to get into their hands now that they already have their computers to get that started for July 6th, and we're prepared to do that. And then grades 5 through 8, we clumped together 5th and 6th grade, and their learning time will be during 1 week, and then 7th and 8th grade will be 7th and 8th grade will be first, July 20th, and then 5th and 6th will be the following week. Again, they will be synchronous and asynchronous. Theirs is going to focus around, it's so exciting. The teachers have decided to work through some graphic novels. So they're going to work on closed reading, they're going to work on TDAs and journal writing. And then after the ELA component, we have some math programs of study that were put together through Mathia that will also be delivered to the students. So that's K through 8. And then at the high school, you'll see here, we have 2 different options working through credit recovery and credit enhancement. It'll last about 4 to 5 weeks. Certainly we want those kids that have been identified or have identified that they need to make up some credits. We want to make sure we have a vehicle to do that and the support to do that. Teachers have been great about, we just did the posting as far as who's interested in teaching these classes, and we're getting a great response to both. So again, that will be synchronous and asynchronous. There'll be some AM sessions and some PM sessions. So we're really trying to take that month of July into August, you'll see here for the high school, and offer some important skills while fun for the younger kids. And of course, we're going to keep it very engaging for all that are involved. And then the last piece, we would be remiss if we didn't have some transition planning in there. So we want to make sure, whether we're coming back to brick or mortar or what it's going to look like, that we do make that entry into kindergarten extra special. So already our facilitators that work through for the Ready for School program have reached out to all of our kindergarten teachers at every single building, and there have been some videos already made to introduce some of what to expect in kindergarten. We're also looking to purchase the Ready Rosie app, and I just actually got my update today as a text. I belong to the one here in the area where I live, and they're just really good skills to help engage families in the learning process. So that's really exciting for our kindergarten kids, to get them hooked and excited about learning right from the get-go. 5th grade, we also see that as a very important transitional time. So we will be working on some virtual tours, getting to be able to have the students meet their teams that they will be coming to, and try and really work out what are some of those I'm wonderings as a 5th grader coming to the middle school. And then lastly, the transition piece, of course, to high school. And that's through a bridge program. They really work intensively on some of those study skills, really like high school 101, what's it going to be like, what should I expect, and looking for some virtual tours there as well. So lots of planning has been put into place. The messaging, I am going to be working on Wednesday to make sure we get that out to everybody. And so look and listen for that. I also almost forgot this last slide. Looking at other opportunities for all. We have summer book lists that will be posted on our website, broken down into the various chunks with elementary, middle, and high school. We are working with Dauphin County Library. We will be proposing a memorandum of understanding tonight for Ready Access, which allows every single student in Harrisburg to be hooked up to the library, to be able to sign out ebooks, to use it as, a resource in whatever way they can. We are excited too, our staff, we will be doing a district-wide virtual read aloud with a variety of different books. The first one kicking off is going to be Wonder. And then we'll continue to keep our enrichment activities posted on the website, continue to update any transition activities. And as we hear of summer camps, I know one that's been popular has been one related to STEM. So we want to make sure that those opportunities are available and communicated and easily accessible to our students. Any questions?
Thank you, Jackie. I want to go right into the next portion, but so thank you, Jackie, for leading those teams and getting the details down for all of that differentiated summer reboot, whatever we want to call it, but we really want to make sure that we're re-engaging students into learning and hopefully decreasing the how rapid regression could occur. So I'm really thankful to the teams at all of the levels who have put that awesome program together.
My pleasure.
I also just wanted to touch on some of the plans for the fall. As you know, we've had multiple device distributions from 3rd grade to 12th grade, and this is just the beginning of moving our district forward in the one-to-one device initiative. It started because of the pandemic. It's going to continue because it's the right thing to do. We've been able to plan for it on an annual basis to ensure that we are constantly refreshing devices. And while we're doing that, we are teaching students all of the skills they need to be successful online learners, whether they're in the brick and mortar or in the cyber environment. Additionally, we want to also make sure that we are providing excellent professional development to our teachers so that they can make online learning exciting and differentiated and meet the needs of our students. So what you see here is that we do have a continuum of online to brick and mortar services for our children in Harrisburg beginning in the fall. Of course, we've talked a lot about HVLA, which is a fully cyber program, but it is an additional school in the Harrisburg School District. So students that attend this cyber program are still Harrisburg Cougars, and we're very proud of that. We additionally offer the blended environment through the Cougar program in grades 1 through 12. And in the brick and mortar, we will also have that one-to-one device initiative. Beginning in the 2021 school year, all students in 1st through 8th grade will have one-to-one Chromebooks. All students in 9th through 12th grade will be issued a PC. And one of the incentives that we want to put in place for this PC distribution is that as our children take good care of this equipment throughout their high school years, this equipment will be issued, their computer will be issued to them upon graduation. We are going more to a 2-to-1 ratio of Chromebooks to pre-K and kindergarten. So in other words, these devices won't go home with students. They'll be kept in a classroom. There'll be 2 students to every 1 device in those programs. Oh, and the plan is that we refresh computers for all 1st grade, for all 5th grade, and for all 9th grade. If I receive a Chromebook as a 1st grader, I will have that Chromebook through 4th grade, and that's when I'll be issued my new Chromebook in 5th grade. So you can see the process that we're using for maintenance and refreshment of the information of the devices. Additionally, we've talked about this already tonight, but we are very committed to providing equitable education to our students. We know that all public schools are in a constant state of that cycle of improvement. We are very, very proud to be able to update the services that we can provide to our students in Harrisburg, to every single student in the Harrisburg School District, so that they can develop all of the opportunities for broad communication, collaboration, safe exploration, and the development of those digital citizenship and 21st century skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sneath, Dr. Castleman, for that informative presentation. Thank you for all your work that's been done in the area of academics. And I think it's exciting because as we move forward on this journey, as we go through business meetings and we work through the transition of the school district, it's going to become, as it should, more and more about academics. As we can stabilize the other areas of this operation, we can then focus where we really need to be focused. And a lot of the other noise that has surrounded the school district, a lot of the other distractions that have taken us away from doing what's right by the students of our school district are starting to go away. And so it's really exciting to see the presentation tonight, to see where we're heading in the summer, and how we transition into whatever the fall may look like. We are going to be in a position to serve our students and our families because of the efforts of the academic team, our IT team, and the entire team in the Harrisburg School District. So thank you very much for all your efforts for our students.
Great. And I agree, Mr. Summer. This is about every single one of us collectively sharing the information, getting it out there, making sure that we're doing everything to embrace every student, every family member, so that our students are supported throughout the summer, into the school year, and as we move further. Thank you very much. Mr. Summer, I'd like to move forward and ask that you begin to share recommendations from the Office of the Superintendent and move us through the meeting. We always look forward to the superintendent's updates. If you would.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
Just a couple quick updates. I do want to thank the team for graduation. We had a phenomenal class of 2020 weekend in the Harrisburg School District. Given we had to completely change our plans due to COVID, Friday night and Saturday night was phenomenal. And I want to thank everyone involved. And again, it was about doing what was right for our students. Our students deserve the opportunity to walk across the big stage and have their families recognize their amazing accomplishment. And in a very, unorthodox way, we made that happen. And we had 293 students walk across the stage on Saturday. So congratulations to our students and their families, and congratulations to the high school team and everyone involved with putting that weekend together. It took a lot of work, a lot of heart, and a lot of effort, and I'm appreciative of all that work. The smiles on the faces of our students and families said it all. So what a great weekend! And again, thank you. HVLA, I just want to mention that as there's a motion on tonight that would make Dr. Marisol Craig the principal of record to start the Harrisburg Virtual Learning Academy. It's a very natural couple with her responsibilities with the Cougar Academy. And certainly we are going to monitor where the program goes, how fast it grows, because it's going to grow. We're confident in that. Because we're going to provide a phenomenal program for our students that keeps them within the Harrisburg School District, and they are part of our Cougar family, even if they're 100% online. And we're going to do some unique things to ensure that they feel that and that they know they are part of the Cougar family. As was mentioned earlier, devices for our first and second grade and kindergarten will be, ordered over the summer, so we'll be ready for the start of the next school year for grades K1 and 2. There is a very important survey that has been posted it was posted at the end of last week from the Harrisburg School District for our families, and we are seeking the input of our families as we prepare for the start of the next school year. There are so many unknowns out there currently around COVID-19. The health experts really truly don't know, if we're being honest, what the impact of COVID will be short-term and long-term. We understand in the community of Harrisburg that it has had a very significant negative impact on our families. And we need to take that into account as far as how our families are feeling about their students, their situation as we prepare for the next school year. So there is a survey. It is in English and it is in Spanish. It's available on all our social media sites. It is available on the Catch site if you follow Catch. It's available through the Hispanic Center. And I am begging you at this point to please provide us your feedback and input on next school year. It is a quick survey. It will take you 2 minutes to fill out, but it'll be one of the most important surveys that you would have provided for us here in the Harrisburg School District as we continue to evolve and work on our plans for the start of next school year. Some things I want to make our families aware of. So there are no surprises as we plan for next school year. There are a number of options that we're currently reviewing. Couple options could be around an A-B schedule, could be an alternate day schedule, online hybrid classes, fully online classes, staggered bell times. Currently, we have a 2-tier bell system. We're looking at a 3-tier bell system to spread out the traffic, especially in corridors of the city that are very congested, like Roland, Scott, and Melrose, for example. So there'd be time in between those schools entering the building. Half-day schedules are being evaluated. Our current grade configuration is being evaluated. So again, we're going to exhaust all potential options, but the input from you through those surveys will be an important part of our planning and evaluation process. So again, I beg of you to please take a minute or two of your time and complete that survey. There's going to be additional surveys forthcoming throughout the summer as we continue to dig deeper into the planning stages of the 2021 school year. But again, I implore you to please take that time and fill out that survey. We have a pandemic committee that's operational. We've been meeting for a number of weeks regarding return to work for our employees, about our athletic program, which there's a resolution on tonight for voluntary workouts to be able to resume those at the end of the month, and also our full school reopening. Dr. Samuels, those are the major updates I have to share tonight. There's many other agenda items that are on this evening, but again, those are the major items for the community for tonight. Thank you.
And thank you very much for those updates. And once again, it's very important that we all continue to push out as much information as possible, but more than anything, reinforcing, we're valuing the voices of our parents, our community, and I also join you in asking that everyone complete the surveys and know that your voices matter as we prepare to move forward with school opening. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Samuels. I'll move into the recommendations under the superintendent's office. Letter B is the request for the receiver to approve a one-year extension with 3 one-year options with Aramark Incorporated for facilities management and facilities custodial staffing. The 2021 cost is $997,34333. The funding source is the general fund, and that's less than a 1% increase from the current rate of 1920 rate.
Thank you for sharing. I'd like to approve the one-year extension with Aramark, who provides support for facilities management and facilities and custodial staffing for the 2020-21 school year in the amount of $997,343.33. And the source of funding, of course, is the general fund. That is approved.
Thank you. Letter C is to request the approval of the one-year extension, which is attached with Camelot LLC. The base cost of the service is $1,997,870, and that it would be capped as part of the addendum at the 1920 contract rate as noted in the addendum.
Yes. The recommendation for the approval of a one-year extension, and again, so duly noted the addendum with Camelot LLC for the 2020-21 school year in the amount of $1,997,870 is approved.
Thank you. Letter D, request the receiver approve the attached agreement with our Act 93 Tech and Support Group. It is a one-year agreement running from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 as attached.
Thank you. And thank you very much for presenting this. This agreement with Act 93 is significant, as so duly noted. We have not had an agreement with Act 93 for some time, since 2011. It is a pleasure to approve a one-year agreement with Act 93 from the time span of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
I also would like to thank the Act 93 group. We had a number of meetings throughout the process, and there's some structures in place which hopefully will continue to improve that agreement as long as we can continue to improve the financial health of the school district as we move forward. So I want to thank the Act 93 group for their support in benefit changes, medical benefit changes, as well as some other modifications we needed to make due to the Wessel report and the Auditor General. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you all for the hard work that went into reaching this agreement. Thank you very much.
Letter E, Chapter 10 Biannual Safe Schools MOU. So I'm requesting the receiver approves the biannual MOU as legally required by Chapter 10 of the Safe Schools Act between the City of Harrisburg Police Department and the Harrisburg School District. I just want to make note, this agreement is not an agreement for school resource officers, as we've been discussing over the past couple of months. This is a mandated Chapter 10 required biannual MOU that every school district in Pennsylvania must have in place.
Great. And thank you for that background information. The Memorandum of Understanding, consistent with Chapter 10 of the Safe Schools Act between the Harrisburg School District and the City of Harrisburg Police Department, is approved.
Thank you. Letter F is our annual appointment of our Act 44 Safety and Security Coordinator. So we are recommending the appointment of Marianne Flickinger, who has served in that role for the past 2 school years as the Safety and Security Coordinator for Act 44 for the 2021 school year. And I want to thank Marianne for all her efforts in this role.
Thank you. I too would like to thank Ms. Peters, and we are delighted that she is serving this capacity. The recommendation for the approval of Marianne Peters Fleckinger to serve as the Safety and Security Coordinator for Act 44 for the 2020-2021 school year is approved.
Thank you. Letter G is to request the receiver to approve an extension of the December 18, 2019 agreement with Beth Trapani Communications at the terms and hourly rate not to exceed $4,500, which is through December 31, 2020. I'd like to note the $4,500 is dollars that were not expended under the current agreement due basically to the COVID-19 situation. So this is not additional dollars being added. It is the balance remaining that I'm asking to carry over.
And thank you again for that background information, Mr. Selmer. The recommendation for the agreement to extend the agreement through December 18th, from December 18th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020 with Trapani Communications is approved.
And the funding source is the general fund.
Yes.
Letter H is the approval of the 2021 board meeting receiver calendar as attached.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. And we encourage everyone to look at the calendar that reflects the meeting dates. We will continue to meet on Mondays. It's the 3rd Monday of each month, so duly noted for very specific holidays, including the Martin Luther King Day of Service, President's Day. Those days vary, but they will, in many instances, we will begin virtually and will provide the appropriate notice to the public as that changes. The calendar for the 2020-21 board meeting, business meeting agendas, calendar is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letter I is the MCIU addendum to contract scope of services. And this was covered in detail during the budget presentation last week. We are requesting the receiver approve the revised scope of service and annualized cost as attached. The revised annual cost is $1,631,450. The funding source is general fund and title funding.
Yes. I'd also like to point out and reinforce what you just articulated. During the previous week, which was June 15th, a comprehensive overview of the scope of work provided by the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit was shared. I'd like to again reinforce and articulate the fact that the scope of the work has expanded and increased, and the work for transparency is so duly noted. Even though this is an increase of slightly over $200,000, still tremendous savings for the district, and then consistent with the magnitude of the work that's being accomplished, and also what's reflected in the recovery plan, the work connected with the WESF report, etc., and the day-to-day operations of the school district in multiple areas, the superintendent's role, human resources, academics. etc., is embellished and enhanced due to the commitment, the work, the efforts, professionalism, and focus of the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit team. The addendum to the contract for the revised scope of work and annualized cost is approved in the amount of $1,631,450. The source of funding stems from the general fund and the title dollars.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letter J is an athletic activity plan voluntary out-of-season workouts. So we're requesting the receiver to approve the resocialization plan as attached. Please note the plan may be updated over the summer and workouts could be stopped at the direction of the superintendent. I'd just like to note I've asked Mr. Calvin Everett, our athletic director / football coach, is on with us this evening. Mr. Everett worked very diligently on this plan over the past couple of weeks. So I would just like to see if Mr. Everett would have any comments for the receiver before considering the recommendation. Mr. Everett.
Yes. How's everyone doing today? First, the plan that we have in place is it's comparable to a lot of the other plans of school districts in our area. And, I worked very closely with Mr. Selmer, and, we thought it was, going to be in the best interest of our students, to see this plan through. I don't have anything specific in terms of the plan, but, it's a lot of information on it. But if there's any questions that anyone has regarding the plan, I'm more than welcome to, help discuss or answer any questions.
I just want to add one other thing, Mr. Everett. Mr. Everett is going to be responsible for meeting with all the coaches, which he's already started the dialogue regarding the expectations. Secondly, there was a walkthrough of the athletic workout facility, and we're going to be making some modifications within the facility for the start of what we hope to be would be a normal athletic season. This plan could also is also applicable to our music programs as well. So they could use the same plan on a voluntary reclamation that they would want to do during this time over the summer.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sommer and Mr. Everett, for sharing. I did go through this plan several times very carefully to make note of the areas that it did cover. And once again, the plan referenced guidance that has been provided by the CDC and others. And as Mr. Sommer noted, even though this plan is in place, and that's the stipulation in terms of its approval, there will be very close monitoring of what's happening both locally, broadly in terms of COVID, adhering to the guidelines and the expectations. All of those things will be carefully monitored. So this plan is being approved based on the further monitoring of the day-to-day operations to ensure that safety is paramount and that the decisions on a day-to-day workout, are sort of looked at carefully because we know that things change on an ongoing basis. So with that noted, the athletic activity plan, which again, it specifies that it is a voluntary, plan that students and others will be engaged in. This resocialization plan, as also noted, is approved with that stipulation, understanding that, it will continue during the summer and that it will be carefully monitored at the direction of the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everett. Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letter K is request the receiver to approve an extension of the December 18th, 2019 agreement with Devereaux CES, which is Center for Effective Schools, at the terms, condition, and hourly rates not to exceed a total cost of $4,500 through August 10th, 2020. The The $4,500, similar to the Trapani Communications, is an unexpended amount from the current agreement. And again, some things were delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The recommendation to extend the work with the Devereaux Center for Effective Schools through August 10th, 2020, for dollars that reflect 4,500 are approved, understanding that the terms and the conditions of the hourly rate will not exceed the amount noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Letter L is a similar resolution with Carol Gilbert Consulting. It was a February 18th, 2020 approval for an operational audit with Miss Gilbert's consulting firm at a cost of $3,000. Due to COVID, there was only one quick walkthrough that was able to be done, and then we had to shut down operations. So we're looking to carry that over so that audit can be done once we assume normal operations in the future.
Great. The recommendation for the agreement with Carol H. Gilbert Consulting is approved as presented. And the source of funding, of course, is the food service budget.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
my last item is a daily operations resolution. And since we are not going to have a July board meeting, we're requesting the receiver authorize the superintendent and administration to conduct daily operations of the school district from June 22nd, 2020 through August 10, 2020. Operations to include, but not limited to, payment of bills and hiring or replacing personnel that do not encumber new or additional funds outside the approved 2021 budget.
Thank you. The recommendation for the authorization for the superintendent administration to conduct daily operations of the school district from the time period that includes June 22nd, 2020 through August 10th, 2020 is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. That concludes the recommendations from the superintendent's office. I'd like to move the meeting over to Ms. Lewis for the HR, Human Resources recommendations. Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. This evening, Dr. Samuels, we have quite a few items. Letter A is requesting your approval of the reorganization resolution per the attached.
Yes. And I'd like to, encourage everyone to take a look at that attached resolution. And we know that this is a critical time in the school district, the Office of Human Resources. There's much activity. And even though there are quite a number of items on this particular agenda, we know that this will be replicated on that August 10th agenda, the next meeting as well. The recommendation for the approval of the attached resolution is approved.
Thank you. Letter B is similar in nature to letter A, providing equity across the district through our reorganization. We are asking for approval of the memorandum of understanding regarding the elimination, non-renewal of certain temporary professional employees per the attached.
And I'd also like to note that it is imperative that as a school district, we adhere to laws, regulations in reference to temporary employees, the renewal of employees, etc. It is vital that we adhere to laws and mandates and stipulations. The recommendation for the memorandum of understanding regarding the elimination and/or non-renewal of specific temporary professional employees positions as reflected is approved.
Thank you. Item C is requesting approval of the memorandum of understanding regarding extending our retirement deadline this past spring from April 1st to May 10th.
Yes. The recommendation for the approval of the memorandum of understanding extending the retirement deadline is approved.
Thank you. Item D is new job descriptions that are attached for your approval.
Yes. The recommendation for the 5 job descriptions as noted, which include the elementary STEM teacher, federal programs coordinator, secondary STEM teacher, senior staff accountant, and the teacher mentor job description, which is also very comprehensive. These 5 descriptions are approved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have 2 new retirements, and third retirement is a change to date.
Okay.
Moving for your approval.
Yes. The recommendations for the retirements of the 3 employees so duly noted is approved, and we'd like to also take this opportunity to thank the employees for their service to the Harrisburg School District. And each of the employees will be recognized by the Office of Human Resources and the district team in the coming months and days that lie before us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone has been invited to be recognized at our first live board meeting, whenever that is.
Thank you.
Item F, resignations, end of service. There are a number. I'm unable to scroll down that far.
Yeah.
There we go, through 16. Thank
Yes.
you.
Mm-hmm. The recommendation for the approval of the resignations and/or end of service for the 16 employees reflected are approved. And also, once again, would like to thank the employees for their service to the district.
Item G is related to our, I believe it's item B, memorandum. This is the furlough with the recall rights for 3 individuals affected by our reorganization.
The recommendation for the consistent with the memorandum of understanding regarding the furlough of the 3 employees so duly noted regarding the recall rights is approved. Also, this recommendation includes that the 3 employees so duly noted will maintain their medical benefits through September 30th, 2020.
Thank you.
Approved. Thank you.
And as our staff has been very busy, we have a number of new staff members to present this evening, items 1 through 4.
Okay. And the Harrisburg School District is indeed hiring. We'd like to the recommendation to approve and officially hire the 4 staff members as so duly reflected. The recommendation is approved, and we'd like to officially welcome each of the staff members to the Harrisburg School District.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item I believe, is change of status. Correct, Adam?
This change of status.
My mouse is disappearing. For the number of employees that are changing their status within the district.
Yes. The recommendation for the change in status for the 29 staff members reflected, the recommendation is approved.
Ms. Lillis and Dr. Samuels, I'd just like to recognize number 7 on that list is the appointment of Ms. Rhonda Eckenroth, who is on the call this evening, from the intern principal role to the new principal at Downey Elementary. Ms. Eckenroth went through an intensive 3-step interview process and came out as the recommended candidate. And we're very excited to have her on board in that role. She's been with the Harrisburg School District for 20 years. Certainly has shown her dedication to the students of Harrisburg. Again, congratulations, Mrs. Eckenroth, and welcome to your new role as principal of Downey.
Can we flash to Ms. Eckenroth for just a second? And we will all give her a round of applause as we welcome her.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer, Dr. Samuels. Thank you.
We are simply delighted and thrilled to have you in the leadership helm of Downey. And so duly noted, you've already been working very diligently and conscientiously, and leadership matters. So welcome and congratulations, and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Sorry.
That's fine. No. Under item J, temporary professional employees, we have a number of employees who are moving to tenured status as of today.
There are 33 staff members. The recommendation to approve the temporary professional employees who have fulfilled the necessary requirements consistent with Section 1108 of the Pennsylvania School Code that moves these employees from the temporary professional employee status to the professional employee status effective June 22nd, 2020. The recommendation is approved for these 33 staff members, and we'd like to congratulate and applaud these staff members as they continue to move forward in their professional careers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next section under section K, supplementals and stipends, there are 7 staff members listed for these payments this year.
Okay. The recommendations for the 7 employees to receive supplemental and/or stipends is approved.
Thank you. The listing under item L for extended school year virtual staffing. The list includes 22 of our present staff members.
Thank you. The recommendation for extended school year, which will be done virtually. The recommendation for the 22 staff members reflected to work from the time period that includes June 22nd through July 22nd, 2020. We know this is a Monday through Wednesday program is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 summer internships listed, Deborah Dierenbach and Dean Dierenbach.
The recommendation for the 2 individuals to engage in summer internships from the time period that includes June 22nd through July 22nd, 2020 is approved.
Thank you. And to supplement our summer cleaning, we have 8 individuals who are school year employees that are interested in helping out our custodians this summer, and those 8 individuals are listed.
We know that the summer cleaning that our entire staff will engage in is very, very important. The recommendation for the 8 individuals to engage in summer cleaning from the time period that includes July 6th through August 7th, 2020 is approved.
Thank you. Under family medical, we have a change of date of return for Janelle King.
So duly noted, the recommendation to adjust the time frame is so duly noted for this family medical leave return. And we know that this is for informational purposes. Thank you.
And final item this evening is a contract agreement with Safe Schools for renewal for the 2021 school year.
Great, thank you. The recommendation to renew the agreement for Safe Schools for the 2020-21 school year is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lewis, and thank you very much to the team. There is much activity that takes place from hour to hour in the Office of Human Resources, and that's a very, very important part of this school district. Thank you for all the work that you and the team are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. Transition to Office of Academics, Dr. Sneath.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Samuels.
Good
I
evening,
have
Dr.
several items for approval. I'll start with student services. I requesting the approval for the Berks County IU letter of agreement for PA's education for children and youth experiencing homelessness, which is an MOU that is in effect from July 1 to June 30 of 2021.
Thank you. The recommendation for the approval of the letter of agreement with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, consistent with the Pennsylvania Education for Children and Youth who are experiencing homelessness, is approved. And it is so duly noted that this memorandum is in effect from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021. Thank you.
Next, recommend the approval of the Hazelden Betty Ford Bar subscription agreement from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. This is year 2 of a 3-year agreement. The cost for year 2 is $52,666.67. And the funding source for this is school improvement funding.
And to add to the recommendation, we know that this program is designed to really be an additional support for our high school students, and that's very, very important. The recommendation, as you have shared, Dr. Sneath, for the subscription for the BAR program from the time period that includes July 1st, 2020 through July 30th, 2021. And we know this is the second year of the implementation of this program. The cost for the second year implementation is $52,666.67. And the source of funding stems from the school improvement funds. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm requesting the approval for our Imagine Learning contract. This is year 1 of a 3-year contract that we negotiated from September 1st. It goes from September 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2021. And this is in the amount of $45,000 for this year. The funding source is Title III.
The recommendation for year 1 of a 3-year contract with Imagine Learning from the time period that includes September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021 in the amount of $45,000 is approved.
Thank you. I'm also requesting, as you know, we continue our hunt for the just right fit for John Harris High School principal position. We are requesting the extension of our agreement with Dr. Jay Butterfield until January 21st. No, this was from the January 21st, 2020 agreement. We are asking for an extension at the same rate through September 30th, 2020. The number of days worked from July 1, 2020 through September 30, 2020 shall not exceed 60 days. The funding source is the general fund.
I'd like to take a moment to publicly thank Dr. Butterfield for his services and his leadership at John Harris. The recommendation to extend the services of Dr. Butterfield through the agreement that initially was implemented as of January 21st, 2020 is approved. And we so duly note, as you have articulated, that this agreement is through September 30th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Request approval for an MOU with Dauphin County Library Systems pending the final solicitor review and approval. This is a 3-year agreement between the library system and Harrisburg School District to implement the All Ready Access program. This is to start June of 2020. All costs will be funded through the Dauphin County Library System.
Great. And of course, we cannot underscore the importance of literacy for all. And we certainly hope that as many children, all students and families will take advantage of this opportunity. The recommendation, and we know, as you so duly noted, that this is pending the approval, final approval from the solicitor, but the recommendation for the attached memorandum of understanding with the Dauphin County Library Systems is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm recommending the approval for an MOU between Harrisburg School District and Tri-County Community Action Plan and Penn State for the Basics Trauma Training Program. This program is for 2 school years, 2020 and the 2020 school year to the 2020, I can't even say it, 2021 school year, and then the 21-22 school year. This funding is being provided through the PCCD Community Violence Prevention Reduction Grant awarded to Tri-County Community Action. There is no cost to the district for this program for our 5th grade students at Camp Curtin.
Thank you. The recommendation for the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Harrisburg School District, Tri-County Community Action, and Penn State is approved. And so duly noted, the program is encompasses 2 school years, the 2021 school year through 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'd like approval for the Naviance by Hobson contract. This is a comprehensive college and career readiness tool that we would like to implement at our high schools. This contract is the particular contract for John Harris High School. It's from the time frame of July 2020 through July 2023 in the amount of $23,311.24. The funding source for this is the John Harris School Improvement Funding.
Thank you, Dr. Sneed. And so duly noted, although this recommendation reflects the approval of the Naviance program, which is designed to support awareness regarding college and career readiness, college preparation, support through post-secondary, is being approved for John Harris. Our goal is to ensure that this is in place for all high school students in the Harrisburg School District, and that is something that we will address further. The time frame here is for 3 years, and the dollar amount, the $23,324, reflects the 3-year time period. And even though the source of funding is through the John Harris Comprehensive Student the School Improvement Program, their funds, I'd like to note that this number may be modified slightly as the other schools are included. And hopefully we will continue to even improve this dollar amount for the 3-year time period. And so based on those items, this recommendation for Naviance is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Under the area of special education, I recommend the approval of Salient Health Services contract for various costs for speech and language pathologists, school psychologists. This is for the time period of August 2020 through June 2021, and the funding source is the general budget.
Great. The recommendation for the agreement with Salient Health Services for speech and language services, in addition to the services school psychologist, is approved for the time period that extends through June 2021. And the source of funding is the general fund budget.
Thank you. This is another contract with Solian Health Services for a specific contract with Hannah Bupp, speech and language therapist, from August 17th, 2020 to June 4th, 2021 at the cost of $70 per hour. The source of funding is the general fund again, excuse me.
Yes. The second recommendation for a contract with Solient Services for speech and language support from a pathologist from the time period that includes August 17th, 2020 through June 4th, 2021 is approved in the amount that is noted. And once again, the source, as you articulated, is from the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you. I recommend approval for the Vista School contract from July 6th, 2020 to August 13, 2020 at the cost of $8,191.05. This is an ESY program, and it will be paid for through the general fund budget.
Thank you. The recommendation for the approval with Vista School from the time period that includes July 6th through August 13th, 2020 is approved. Dr. C, if you can do the next two together because
sure. Okay. So similarly, I'm recommending the approval for the New Story Harrisburg contract for March 10th, 2020 through June 4th, 2020 at the cost of $205 per day. Additionally, another News Story contract for an additional 6 ESY students at the cost of $380 per day and 1 student at the cost of $530 per day between the time frame of June 22, 2020 and July 29, 2020. The funding source is the general budget. Oh, and go ahead. I'll do that. I'll do the next one.
Would you like to continue?
Yes, I would like to. So I also recommend the approval of the New Story Cumberland contract at the cost of $205 per day for 2 students, $275 per day for 3 students, and $380 per day for 8 students from the time period of from August 20th, 2020, this is for the next school year, to June 4th, 2020. The funding source is the general fund budget.
Great. Thank you. You have shared 4 recommendations with New Story, and we know that these contracts vary by students, by school year, and also they include extended school year services. The recommendations for the 4 contracts with New Story, specifically as reflected with the differentiation, is approved as presented.
Thank you. Request approval for our CAIU letter of intent contract for the 2021 school year in the amount of $240,582.26 for class placements of our students, and then an additional $138,448 for non-class placement for students for the general, and this will be paid for through the general fund budget.
So in this particular case, this recommendation is for the capital area intermediate unit. This is a letter of intent. The school district, the Harrisburg School District, and has done so for some time, has worked with the capital area intermediate unit for various placements of students with special needs. The recommendation for the approval of the letter of intent and for a contract for the 2020-2021 school year in the amount of $1,240,582.26 for class placements, in addition to $138,448 for non-class placements is approved. And it is noted that the source of funding is the general fund.
Thank you. And I'm also asking for the approval of a contract with PRR Education Services, specifically with Carissa Lash, who is a speech and language therapist at the rate of $74 per hour for 3.5 hours per day for ESY services this summer.
Yes. The recommendation for the approval of contract with PRR Educational Services for speech and language services to take place during the extended school year program from July 22nd from June 22nd through July 22nd, 2020 is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm recommending approval of an MOU with Grand Canyon University to place student teachers within our school district from March 2020 to June 30th, 2022. So it's retroactive from March 16th.
Okay. And extends for almost 2 years.
Mhm.
The recommendation, the memorandum of understanding for the approval of the recommendation with the Grand Canyon University from the time period that includes March 16th, 2020 through June 30th, 2022 is approved.
Thank you. I recommend the approval of a contract with Penn Literacy Network for their professional development program for the 2021 school year in the amount of $29,250. The funding source is the school improvement funding from John Harris High School.
The recommendation for the approval of the program with Penn Literacy Network for professional learning services and coursework in the amount of $29,250 with the funds stemming from the John Harris School Improvement CSI Fund for the time period that includes the 2020-21 school year is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, requesting the approval of 2 contracts with the Great Minds organization. The first is for Eureka Math Materials for students in grades K through 5 for the 2021 school year in the amount of $114,950.10. The funding source for both of these contracts is Title I. Additionally, I am recommending the approval of a contract with Great Minds for a virtual professional development for math teachers in grades 6 through 12, the Eureka Launch Program in the amount of $1,500.
Great. The recommendation for the approval of contract, 2 contracts with Great Minds for Eureka Math. First is for materials for students in grades kindergarten through grade 5 for the 2020-21 school year in the amount of $114,950.10 is approved. In addition, the recommendation for virtual professional learning for mathematics leaders for teachers who work with students in grades 6 through 12 is approved in the amount of $1,500. And for both recommendations, you so duly noted that the source of funds will stem from the Title I budget.
Thank you so much for tonight.
And thank you very much. Again, the academic emphasis is the core of the school district. And it is so very important that the academic components are celebrated, that folks are knowledgeable, that the professional learning takes place, again, so that we can move the needle of achievement. And so thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you to the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I concur. Thank you, Dr. Sneath and team for the great work that's being done and the foundation that's being laid for the future of the school district. I'd like to transition to Mr. George Longridge, Office of Business Services.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Good evening, everyone. Dr. Samuels, the first item I request your approval on tonight is the Treasurer's Report for the period ending May 31st, 2020 treasurer's report in the amount of $21,201,761.27.
Thank you. The treasurer's report for the time period ending May 31st, 2020 in the amount of $21,201,761.27 is approved.
Thank you. Dr. Samuels, the next item I have this evening, ratification of accounts payable checks. We have 6 check runs. The check run for May 20th, May 27th, June 3rd, June 10th, and 2 check runs on June 17th. We have the amounts listed on the agenda. I can read them if you like, or I can just leave them on the agenda for everyone to read at their leisure, whatever you prefer. But we're requesting approval for these check registers this evening, and these are for payments made at the end of May and so far through this month of June.
Thank you, Mr. Longridge. We will note the amounts as reflected and ask that the public takes note specifically of the amounts that are reflected. I'd like to approve the ratification of the accounts payable checks for the dates, the check registers that reflect May 20th and May 27th, 2020 in the amounts reflected, and for June 3rd, June 10th, and to note the 2 dates reflected for June 17th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
For the next item, item C, ratification of payroll processing. We have 2 items, number 2 and number 3, which are routine. One item for May 29th, 2020 in the amount of $1,216,008.86. And then another payroll processing of June 12th, 2020 in the amount of $1,149,175.39. I'd like to reflect back on the first one, on November 1st, 2019, in the amount of $10,719.20. This is an item that we'd request a ratification on. It's a bit late, but it's part of our checks and balances and making sure that we have verification and approval. Even though it's late, we want to make sure we comply with all the Auditor General requests and approval processes and make sure that this is approved on a board agenda, and that it's ratified the right way.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'd like to approve the ratification of payroll processing, as you noted, for May 29th, 2020, in addition to June 12th, 2020, in the amounts reflected. And so duly noted, we'd like to also include November 1st, 2019, consistent with the district's efforts for internal controls. The 3 ratifications are approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
The next item is approval of repository property sales. We have 7 properties listed before you this evening. All of these were received by the city, and the bid amounts are listed there before you. The $1,000 for each property. We're requesting your approval tonight. The properties are 414 Crescent Street, 31 South 13th Street, 1705A North 5th Street, 1705 North 5th Street, 1147 Dairy Street, 1401 Regina Street, and 2108 Swatara Street. And so all of those properties went through the delinquent tax sale process. They were not purchased, and now they're up for repository property sales. Bids were accepted, and this is the last step in the approval process. We're recommending approval of the sale tonight.
Okay. The recommendation for the 7 properties, as so duly noted, in reference to the repository property sales, is approved.
Thank you. The next item I have this evening is approval of the insurance and risk management package for the next fiscal year. We're recommending approval of the total package premium of $272,348. The package of directors and officers liability, the premium for that component is $110,434. The workers' compensation component is $954,281. The umbrella premium is $28,661. And the cybersecurity premium is $15,780. The total premium for those components of our package, $1,381,504. In addition to that, Dr. Samuels, we are required by our carrier in order to cover the old unused William Penn building to purchase a separate standalone policy. And this policy, we already have a fixed quoted amount of $53,451.50 for the actual property premium. We're waiting for one piece regarding a liability. And I've been assured by our broker that that component will be less than $10,000. However, I don't have a firm quote on that. I can't provide it for you tonight. So tonight what we're requesting is approval on the entire package that is before you this evening, and approval to move ahead, find this coverage, and then we'll sign for the liability component that has been quoted to us, and then we'll bring it back for ratification at the August meeting, just so we have all of our property insured for the start of the fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Longridge, which is very, very important. The recommendation for the approval of the insurance proposals as reflected in the amount of $1,381,504 is approved. And so duly noted that it is very important that the William Penn property is included, pending further information from the insurance carrier and the attorneys. So that entire package is approved, knowing that we're waiting for additional information and clarification.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you very much, Mr.
So
Longridge.
the next item I have is a request for approval of a capital reserve transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund in the amount of $500,000. These funds will be used to pay for upcoming maintenance projects on our facilities. We are requesting your approval for this tonight.
The recommendation for the approval of capital reserve funds to be transferred from the general fund to support capital projects is approved in the amount of $500,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. The next item is another fund transfer. This is actually an internal fund transfer. We're requesting approval for a fund transfer from the general fund to an internal service fund that was authorized by you back in November of 2019. The purpose of this transfer is to more efficiently and effectively operate the district's self-insurance health insurance program. We're requesting a transfer of $250,000 to do this. And this will allow us to continue our efforts to be more efficient and effective.
The recommendation for the transfer in the amount of $250,000 to support the district's self-insurance health insurance program is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
The next item I have this evening, we have been working with our two transportation contractors on memorandums of understanding. These are modifications of our current agreement to come to an understanding on our different school year here with the COVID end of year with transportation. So the two agreements that you have our understandings to pay them for their fixed costs through the end of the school year from when service actually ended on March 13th. But it's not paying for any of the variable costs such as labor and drivers and those types of costs. So tonight we're asking for approval for a payment of $337,483.77 to George Kraft Jr. and Sons Incorporated, and $245,419.07 to Boyo Transportation. And again, as I said, these are for their fixed costs, not for variable costs, funding sources from the general fund. And this equates to approximately 57% of the overall transportation cost to these two contractors.
And thank you for sharing the background information. And it is so duly noted that there has been much debate and exploration in terms of how we handle transportation payments to the transportation companies. So the recommendation for the two memorandums of understanding, one with George Kraft and Sons Incorporated, and the second with Boyo Transportation Incorporated, for those fixed costs is approved in the amount so duly reflected. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
The next item I have this evening is a request for approval of the debt resolution that we have been discussing during our budget discussions here the last few months. Tonight we're asking for approval of the parameters resolution that is attached. This is a legal document. It's a resolution that establishes the guidelines for our debt program going forward for the restructuring of our debt here in the next 6 months. And we're requesting your approval tonight. I would like to note that our bond underwriter, Mr. Lou Verdelli from RBC, is on the call, as well as our bond counsel, Ms. Ellen Enters. So, but they are both here. And if anyone had any questions, they would be happy to answer them. But we have reviewed a lot of these numbers. The framework is established in this resolution. The details won't be established, obviously, until we go out and the sale is actually completed. And we'll have that information for the public and for everyone on the call once we complete the sale. But this is just setting out the guidelines, and we'll move forward with that and use that. It's really important to do this in a timely manner because interest rates are so low right now. We want to move ahead, and we'll do that once this is approved tonight.
And thank you for the background information. And we know that in terms of this debt resolution, we're trying to follow the legal parameters that are attached for such a resolution. The recommendation for the approval of the attached resolution, which establishes the parameters for debt restructuring, is approved. And we will continue to follow this protocol and this process with the appropriate internal controls as we work with RBC to move forward with this activity.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. And I'd like to really just take a moment here to thank publicly Mr. Lou Verdelli and his team at RBC, and Ms. Ellen Enters, our bond counsel from Fox Rothschild. They've been so incredibly helpful to our team here at Harrisburg. They've really been a pleasure to work with, and I really look forward to working with both of them in the future. I think they'll really be an asset to our district, and it'll be really very positive experience working with them in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Longridge. We look forward to working with you and your team.
So, Dr. Samuels, the last item I have this evening involves the passage of the 2020-2021 general fund budget. There are 3 documents for your consideration. The first one is actually the resolution establishing the tax rate and the payment options. I won't walk through this line by line, but it establishes the millage rate at 29.78 mils, which is essentially the same as it was last year. There's no tax increase, as everyone knows. We wanted to establish some of the elements that have been in place for a long time here in Harrisburg in a formal resolution. So we took the opportunity to structure it in a certain way so that it's a legal document. So the installment payments are established. They've been in place for many years since Act 1 was first introduced by the legislature. So installment payments are there. We have the discount, which is there. That's a feature in the law. The one thing I'd like to point out to the public and to you and everyone listening tonight, we are changing a bit because of the stresses of times right now. We want to try to provide a little bit of a break for the community. We had shared with everyone in the last few budget workshops that the legislature had been considering changes to the discount period, the base period, and the penalty period for real estate taxes. What I had done in consultation with Mr. Selmer, we had talked about this as an administrative team to simplify things and to coordinate and streamline things with the city. Our timing is now mirroring what the city is doing. So the discount period is exactly the same as it always has been. So the discount will run through August 31st. But now the base period will extend through December 31st, and we won't have a penalty period. So taxpayers will have it until December 31st to pay their taxes with no 10% penalty. They have to pay by December 31st. If they're not paid, they'll be turned over and they'll be delinquent at that point. But there won't be a penalty and have that penalty period that has always happened. We've done an analysis. We don't think it will really materially affect the operations and cash flow of the school district. And then the resolution also goes on to establish the other taxes and make sure that they continue. And it just codifies everything that we've done as a district in the past in terms of the other taxes that support the operation of the school district. Section 6 of the resolution is just establishing the approval of the budget, the presentation date, and then the total expenditures. The budget amount is $158,239,294 with the same amount of revenue. We do not expect to use, and we're not budgeting any sort of fund balance. So we have a structurally balanced budget, as we've talked about, thanks to the COVID money that we received. And so that's the resolution regarding tax rate and the budget. The other document for your consideration, Dr. Samuels, is the homestead farmstead. This is incredibly important for our taxpayers. This was incorporated into the law back in 2006. So Harrisburg is fortunate to receive $2.7 million of gambling funds. It's actually $2,771,967 of gambling revenue that comes in to provide property tax relief for taxpayers. This year, according to the assessment office, there will be 5,921 homesteads that receive tax relief. That tax relief will be approximately, well, not approximately, we calculated it exactly, $468.15 per home. So each of those 5,921 homeowners will receive over $468 of tax relief on their tax bill. The homestead farmstead resolution lays all that out in a legally binding resolution. And then the last document tonight is the state mandated PDE 2028. And that's the document that we've had posted for the last 30 days. And it's the document that the state requires us to use when adopting the budget. So Dr. Samuels, what we are requesting tonight is that you approve the general fund budget on PDE 2028. We're asking you to approve the resolution that has the tax levy and all the other associated tax and budget information. And we're asking you to approve the homestead farmstead resolution in support of the 2020-2021 budget.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Longridge, and thank you for the comprehensive background as we move towards approving the general fund budget for the 2020-21 school year. You mentioned numerous and lots of information related to the homestead farmstead resolution. You mentioned information in reference to property taxes, the levy, and you noted, and I'm just reinforcing, that this budget does not reflect an increase in taxes for the citizens of the Harrisburg School District community. I'd also like to specify that you did clarify and note out of the over 500 families that are eligible for the homestead farmstead, inclusion, the rebate, the amount of over $460 towards tax relief, which is so duly noted. I'd like to officially, consistent with PDE 2028 and the resolutions that you did reference, I'd like to approve those resolutions, and I'd like to approve the 2021 budget in the amount of $158,239,294. That is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you very much. And thank you to you and to Ms. Edling, Mr. Selmer, for all of the hard work that went into and the meticulous details in terms of this budget. And I think it's also important to note that in this process, it was noted previously that the fund balance would really be no longer in existence after 2021. And that is certainly not the case. And I think that should be applauded and so duly recognized, that the fund balance, is still here. For $8 million assigned, $8 million unassigned, over $16 million still there in place. And that's as a result of the hard work that was done. And to have a balanced budget is noted and noteworthy. So thank you all for the hard work.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. Thank you to the financial team, Mr. Longridge, Ms. Edling. I also want to just a couple quick comments on some of the resolutions that were just approved. Letter D, which is our premiums that Mr. Longridge went over. This is going to be something we're looking at the next fiscal year. Not happy with almost $100,000 increase in that area. We need to do a better job internally with workers' comp, and we also need to evaluate, like we did with our health care, the services that are being provided. So that will be something that's an opportunity for us in this coming school year to take a look at for the following fiscal year. Secondly, letter G, the approval of the transportation contracts. I just want to note that was a process dictated really through Act 13, which was approved in March due to COVID-19, that the transportation contractors through that legislation had ability to negotiate with school districts regarding their direct fixed costs. So I just want to make note of that. The debt resolution, letter H. We interviewed 2 companies to support us with that. RBC is going to be the company we're working with, but the district did their due diligence. I'd like to thank PFM for their support. There was no question, given the market, that we need to make a move, but the strategy that ultimately we were going to deploy, there was, pros and cons to any strategy. And so I want to thank the team from PFM. They really helped walk us through those pros and cons of the strategies for the debt restructuring, debt refinance, which was extremely helpful as we came into making a final decision. So I want to publicly say thank you to that team. And again, it's exciting that there's no tax increase this coming year for our residents, given the significant impact of COVID to the community. Happy we can keep that tax rate the same. And as we continue to stabilize the finances, hopefully the finance conversation becomes kind of a back conversation to the academic conversation as we do this work and we move forward. So again, thank you to the team for all the hard work.
Great.
So I'd like, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Sanders.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you for noting that and providing the additional detail and background information, because again, there is a financial recovery plan in place, and the finances of this district are, paramount. So thank you for that, Mr. Summer.
Thank you. I'd like to transition to the Office of Operations. Mr. Glass.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Under facility, I have 3 items for consideration this evening. Item 1, I recommend approval of a service contract with Train for a period July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This will provide much-needed software upgrades to our Tritium controllers, as well as monitoring and emergency services for our major HVAC components as we move towards a fully functional building automation system. The cost is $7,424.71 per month, and the funding source will be from the general fund budget.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. The recommendation for the service contract with Train from the time period that includes July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And I'd like for the services that you noted, Mr. Glass, but I'd like to just highlight that that cost is $7,424.71 per month in that time period that was reflected. And the source of funds will stem from the general fund budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
Item number 2. I recommend approval of a remediation project at Foose Elementary School with Prism Response LLC at a cost of $135,826 as attached. Pending final solicitor and receiver approval, the funding source will be the general fund budget.
Thank you. The recommendation for remediation project at Foose Elementary School, completed by Prism Response LLC in the amount of $135,826 is approved pending the final review of our solicitor. Thank you.
And item number 3 under facilities, I recommend approval of a service contract with Water Treatment by Design for period July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. This will provide the district with water treatment to prevent internal corrosion of our cooling towers and chilled, hot, and dual temperature closed loops. Cost is $2,100 quarterly, and the funding source will be the general fund budget.
Great. The recommendation for service contract with Water Treatment by Design in the amount of $2,100, which we note is quarterly, for the time period that includes July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021 is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samos.
Thank you.
Under technology, I have 2 items. Item number 1 is I recommend approval with Gov Connection and IU13 for a 1-year Adobe licensing agreement. This will provide staff and student access to the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of applications. Cost is $12,300 annually, and the funding source is the general fund budget. And I would just like to add that, we just got out of a 5-year contract with Adobe, and we were able to scale back our cost almost in half, which I'm excited about. So we took that cost of around $24,000 down to $12,300, which I'll lead into the next item as soon as you're done approving that.
Great, and thank you for noting the cost savings. The recommendation for the 1-year Adobe licensing agreement with Gov Connections that's connected with the Intermediate Unit 13 in the amount of $12,300 is approved. And you did note that that is a 1-year licensing agreement. Thank you.
Correct, thank you. And lastly, item number 2, I recommend approval of an add-on to our current Microsoft licensing agreement to include Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection. This will add an additional layer of protection to help prevent unwanted malware threats to the district. The annual cost for a previously approved licensing agreement is $50,483. The cost of the add-on is $12,083.40, for an updated annual cost of $62,566.40. And that funding will come from the general fund budget as well. And I'd just like to just make another mention that, we were able to take some of the cost savings from the previous contract and apply it to fortify the district to help us against any additional malware threats.
Great. Thank you so very much. The recommendation for the add-on to our current Microsoft licensing agreement to include Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection is approved in the amount of $62,566.40. And you did note, of course, and we're grateful for that, the cost savings, and we know that this is going to be funded through the general fund budget. Thank you, Mr. Glass.
And that's all I have this evening, and thank you for your support.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all that you do and the hard work. This has been quite, a very busy time for facilities, IT, and you have been moving it very nicely. So thank you to you and the team.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Thank you, Dr. Samuels, for specifically approving that item. Our IT team does a great job in protecting our network and our infrastructure. We are going to continue to enhance employee training in this area as we move into the new school year. Fortunately, as a district, we've had minimal impact in this area overall, but there's a lot happening in this arena that we need to be cognizant of and we need to continue to focus on. So again, I thank Mr. Glass and the team for bringing that recommendation forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to move to board policy updates. Dr. Mamine has two policies to review, and then I have a third policy that I will review. Dr. Mamine.
Thank you, Mr. Selmer. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Samuel.
Good evening, Dr. Mamine.
I have two policy recommendations today. The first, I'd like to recommend approval of revisions to Policy 918, Title I Parent and Family Engagement. Updates to this policy include revisions to the policy title from Title I Parent Involvement to Title I Parent and Family Engagement, change in language from Parent Involvement to Parent and Family Engagement, Parent and Family member definitions, revisions to the guidelines for including parents and family members in the development of the Title I Parent and Family Engagement policy process, minor revisions to the policy purpose, and revisions to authority and delegation of responsibility.
Great. Thank you. And thank you very much for sharing that, Dr. Mamine. And it is so duly noted. The policy related to parent engagement is huge. And it's very, very important that parents, all parents, are embraced and actively engaged throughout the Harrisburg School District and involved in, activities, the decision-making process, etc. It's very important. And this is quite a comprehensive and a very, very important policy. The recommendations for the revisions to Policy 918, which is the Parent and Family Engagement, the Title I Parent and Family Engagement Policy, the recommendations for revision are approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you.
And the second recommendation is for approval for revisions to Policy 910, Community Engagement. The change is from Community Relations to Community Engagement. Additional updates include new policy language for stakeholders, defining community engagement, revisions to purpose, authority, and delegation of responsibility, and community engagement guidelines.
Great. And we encourage everyone to take a look at the policies because they are attached and they are quite comprehensive and replete with lots of information. The recommendation were the revisions to Policy 910, which is now the Community Engagement Policy, is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels.
Thank you, Dr. Mamine.
Thank you, Dr. Mamine. And I just want to make one comment, for Dr. Mamine and the Office of Accountability. This was a concept we brought into Harrisburg in our new organizational structure based on the background that we did before we arrived. And at some point in the near future, going to be asking Dr. Momine during the presentation to provide an update on the Office of Accountability because this office has paid dividends to the school district in many different ways. So in the future, I look forward to having Dr. Momine provide a presentation of the office and all the work it's doing around federal programs, registration, policy, etc.
And school support. And I'd like to agree with you, Mr. Selmer, because I'm going to send Dr. Momine an email this evening because when you think about parent engagement, it's huge to embrace parents, the work that she's also doing with young children, registration, but also the school support, because we are in the process of getting ready for rollover. We're getting ready to support children as they move forward, and we prepare to welcome them back. And they're really timely and important roles and responsibilities that Dr. Momine is supporting and overseeing, and we are most appreciative. So thank you also.
Thank you, Dr. Sanders. Thank you, Mr. Selmer.
Thank
And
you.
Dr. Momine, the presentation won't be in August, so you have time. So it's okay. Thank you. Okay. And the last policy recommendation is the adoption of policy 913.1, which is related to advertising and sponsorship. And this policy, again, it's attached to board docs, and it lays out parameters of the superintendent's authority of dollar value of entering into sponsorship and advertising agreements. There's a threshold where then the receiver would be involved with that approval. So this policy will outlines definitions. It outlines criteria of expectations of any partners that we would engage with for sponsorships. They have to be socially responsible, etc. So it outlines those parameters, discusses electronic media, education materials, if applicable, and advertising and curriculum, and our record-keeping efforts. And this is an important policy for the Harrisburg School District moving forward because there are opportunities in this area with some of our facilities, etc. So this policy will lay the groundwork that will allow for us to operationalize those opportunities as they come forward, and then it'll be board policy really guiding that process. So I'm asking for the adoption of policy 913.1 this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Sommer, and thank you for that detailed background. And when you were sharing, it just reinforces our emphasis on internal controls, carefully monitoring, anything related to finance, which is also, reinforced through the fraud policies and information that Ms. Edling has pushed out. But this policy does open an opportunity for the district, and we look forward to some of the next steps. So the recommendation for the adoption of policy 913.1 regarding advertising and sponsorship is approved. Thank you, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Samuels. That concludes the administration's updates and recommendations for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. This evening has been quite a comprehensive business meeting, chock full of really important items ranging from budget to personnel, the academics, policy, etc., that really impact and shape this district in a very, very important way. And one thing that we do reinforce is that we embrace the information, we embrace the movement of the district, we share so that we are focused on keeping our children, our families, our staff at the center in this to serve this community in a large way. So thank you for all the work that the team is doing. Thank you, board members. There's much information to share, and there's much work to be done each day throughout the summer as we move forward. Mr. Selmer, do you want to reinforce before we adjourn the surveys that, to remind families of the survey that's currently out there?
Yes, the survey is out there. It is online, and Ms. Keys will be doing an additional push this week. And again, I know some of our board members are sharing it out through their contacts, so I thank them for their support. And if there is a case where someone would need a paper survey, etc., I would just ask that they call the main number. Ms. Anderson checks that daily, and we'll make sure, however we need to get the surveys completed, we're willing to do that. It's that critical as we move forward and figure out what next school year looks like. So thank you. And thanks to the community for their continued support through COVID-19.
Great. And thank you all for all that you're doing. And on that note, I'd like to officially adjourn our business meeting. Thank you all. Have a very good evening. Thank you.